Well, it's about 4 p.m. Eastern time as I'm recording this, 2 p.m. Alberta time. I tell you that because a lot is changing between now and when the show actually airs tonight in a few hours. A very fluid situation. I'm talking about the blockade, the convoy in Coutts, Alberta, the village that is the customs and border checkpoint between Canada and the United States, Alberta and Montana. Joining us now via Skype from the blockade is Chad Williamson, the lawyer crowdfunded by Rebel News to assist the truckers in negotiating with the police, de-escalating the situation, and generally trying to have a happy outcome there. Our friend Chad Williamson joins us now. Chad, how you doing down there?
Ezra, we're doing great, and de-escalation is the word of the day today. As many people know, the breaking news coming from down here is that in a tremendous and surprising show of good faith and compassion for their fellow Albertans and an understanding for the toll that this blockade has taken across the country, and in reciprocation for what we feel to be some inklings of movement by the government in respect of the demands of the truckers are opening lanes. One lane, that is, on going each way, providing unimpeded access to and from the border and through the town of Coutts.
All right, so let's just catch our people up because yesterday was very dramatic. The Mounties presented, and on the other side, the truckers presented. I really felt like I was watching a movie, Braveheart, with Mel Gibson. And, the odds were against the Mounties. There were so many more truckers. Unless the Mounties were literally going to take out their firearms and start, God forbid, shooting, they had no chance, and they retreated. And I was wondering what would come next. Now, it sounds like an act of, an olive branch from the truckers, but I saw from one of our journalists, Kian Simone, that, and please tell me what you know about this if you can, that Alberta's backbench Conservative MLAs, the UCP party, the United Conservative Party, that they have expressed solidarity, and you tell me if I'm wrong on this, that they have indicated that if the truckers open up, they will vote to end the vaccine passport in Alberta. Now, I'm just hearing this through Kian Simone, our reporter. Can you tell us anything without giving away confidences?
Unfortunately, I just don't have much information, Ezra. Obviously, in a high-tension situation such as this one, rumors circulate like snow in a blizzard. Mm-hmm. And we've heard all manner of, fairly surprising developments that may or may not have happened between some of the MLAs, the RCMP, and how they plan on conducting the enforcement. Frankly, I just don't have the information, but I do understand that there is a growing support from some of the backbencher MLAs in Alberta. And I mean, they've had support since day one, but it's my understanding that the support has grown and that assurances have been given that there will be progress in cabinet. So it'll be interesting to see. But a lot of this stuff is speculation, and I'm obviously not at liberty to put names on the table or anything at this point.
Yeah. Well, I hope that it's not a trick. One of the reasons the lawyers the truckers asked us to crowdfund you to help them in this de-escalation negotiations is that they said to me that they felt that the RCMP was tricking them, was breaking their promises, and were not reliable or honest. Now, I'm just saying what they said. So bringing you in there to help make sure that things go fairly, I'm worried because I don't know who is behind the scenes on the RCMP. It's a federal police force that has a contract with the province. So I don't know if it's Jason Kenney or if it's the Prime Minister. In some ways, this is a federal matter. It's a border crossing. That's a federal matter. The RCMP are a federal police force. The vaccine mandate in question for truckers is a federal thing. So those three elements tell me this is a federal police operation. But they are working in Alberta under a contract to the province. So I don't really know who the decider is. But let me ask you this, Chad. Earlier today, Erin O'Toole, the Conservative leader federally, was absolutely sacked by his caucus. Like, shockingly, it wasn't even close. And I think that is 100% attributable to his choosing the wrong team on the federal convoy. And you could see the cracks forming when he wouldn't say he stood with them, when he refused to meet them. You saw more and more backbench Conservative MPs saying, I don't care what Erin O'Toole says, I know what's right. And it culminated today, he was thrown out. I wouldn't have guessed that a week ago. And so if I'm hearing rumors that backbench Alberta MLAs are getting a little impatient with Jason Kenney being a mini Trudeau, and if they're saying, hey, truckers, you open up a lane, we'll vote to end this vaccine mandate, I wouldn't have believed it a week ago, Chad, but maybe it's possible. Maybe these truckers are going to actually save us.
Yeah, things change, and I mean, it's easy to take a hard line, but as I said yesterday, enforcement's difficult when you got 200 pieces of serious heavy equipment on the highway, and moreover, when you have rolling blockades popping up spontaneously across the province, cutting off major supply lines so that hipsters don't get their avocado toast in the morning. It really can have a profound impact on getting politicians to bend the ears to people who are vocal enough to try to elicit some change. And I feel winds of change. I can't believe that Erin O'Toole was tossed so handily and so aggressively by such an overwhelming vote against them. And I smell similar usurpations in potentially other legislatures and potentially in conservative movements right across the country. I do think Conservatives have picked the wrong sides. And frankly, the truckers represent not just truckers, but there's farmers out here, there's tradesmen. These people are the backbone that really run the industrial and economic infrastructure of our province, of our country, and they're integral to civilization.
Yeah. I want to be careful in what I ask you, because you have a duty as a lawyer to your clients there, and you have a duty of confidentiality, and I certainly don't want to give anything away. We are crowdfunding your fees, and I know you're down there with a colleague, and if there are any charges against these men, we'll crowdfund those too. If folks want to chip in, you can go to TruckerLawyer.ca. But Chad, I want to ask you, if you can tell me things without giving things away, what's it like with the men? Who are they? What kind of guys? I can't imagine any of them have done anything close to this in their lives. I can't imagine any of them, like, they all look like they probably vote conservative, probably pro-police, pro-conservative. This is an extraordinary action by them because they're in a crisis. That's how it looks from here. What does it look like from there in the bosom of the place?
Ezra, let me tell you a real quick story. One of the fellow here, he owns a feedlot, and he told me a story unrelated to the blockade. He was out in the feedlot, and he saw a small, starving baby kitten meowing up at him from the mud. And he promised himself that he and his wife would never have any more cats in the house. And he was telling me that the cat is now a senior and is on his bed with them every night. And it's the genuine compassion for humanity and for living things and for their fellow Albertans that really binds this community together. The food that has been brought in, the salt of the earth nature of the people that have taken up this cause from all industries, agriculture, trucking, trades. We've got business owners. We've got ranchers and cattle folk. These are true Albertans, and there's children down here. There's wives. There's all sorts of unbelievable people from all sorts of ethnic backgrounds as well. Dutchmen. We've got Germans. We've got Norwegians. We've got folks whose families immigrated here 100 years ago, and there is Albertan as the Norwegian trucker that just got his permanent residency paper. So these people are the essence of what makes Canada a great place to live and what makes Alberta one of the finest places on the planet. I'm just so touched every time I get to hear one of their stories about how the economic wreckage of the pandemic policies have impacted their lives and cost them jobs and money. and giving them stress and grief beyond belief. And frankly, they're still peaceful. They're still compassionate. They just want their voices heard. And that's something that's very touching to me and maybe alien to people who live in the cities and who don't have access, to talk with these types of people and hear their stories. They're all human beings, and they do all have individual stories that are touching, just like that cat story. I couldn't believe it. He's a big burly trucker, and I just get this picture of this guy with this little kitten just, reaching out to another living thing. And there's something magical about that. And that really embodies the love and the passion of the people down here.
Let me ask you a couple of specific questions. I know for a while there, the police had sealed off the whole village, or at least the blockade, and were stopping food, medicine, and fuel, the latter being necessary to keep the trucks running because these truckers are staying in their trucks. There's not 500 hotel rooms in this tiny village. So they were basically trying to starve them out, freeze them out, and in the case of medicine, I don't know, sick them out. I don't think that's lawful, by the way. That's collective punishment. I think that's a really gross thing. Has that police blockade, the police checkpoints, has that been lifted, at least for food, fuel, and medicine?
Well, technically at this point, no. That's something that we're going to be addressing with the authorities in very short order. But what I think is just kind of interesting is it's pandemonium down here. They've set up blockades, and of course there are allegations of people ramming barricades and everything else. It's my understanding that things were much tamer than that, and it was essentially just 4x4s going around a simple blockade that was set up on one direction of travel. But moreover, throughout the night, there were people arriving from every which way. So it's my understanding there's back roads, and that the RCMP have really had a difficult time keeping, much to their dismay. I believe that they would like to continue to disrupt operations down here, but they've had limited success, and I think because of some of the creativity and the the forcefulness of some of the protesters and their supporters, and the support is tremendous. To have labeled it, these folks as a minority or a small fringe movement. This is Southern Alberta, and it seems like everybody's on board.
Yeah. It's different when you're in a big city. Policing is very different. Police know every square meter of things. They know it better than anyone. They have massive reinforcements they can call on. They have special equipment they can bring in quickly. There's not a big police contingent. I doubt there's even a policeman stationed in Coutts. They're coming in. So these folks don't know the lay of the land. They don't have easy reinforcements or backup. They don't have special equipment. It sounds a little more like that 70s TV show, The Dukes of Hazzard, where you've got sort of these cops trying to chase them Dukes boys, except for instead of Hazzard County in the south, it's the freezing prairies. And the Dukes boys in this case are local farmers or tradesmen who just say, I know how to get something to those guys, and these city cops don't know what they're doing. Like, that's just in my mind. I'm not down there. I'm imagining it. It's a very different policing situation. And when we saw that showdown yesterday, I'm sure some of these cops are thinking, what am I doing? Why am I enforcing some health order? I joined the police to go after murderers and kidnappers, and here I am going after law-abiding conservative truckers because they're refusing to show their health papers. This is a crisis. I think it's a crisis of policing. The community no longer consents to this policing, and so the policing is breaking down.
It's a huge problem, and you see that even in urban environments where, if there's an investigation underway and simply there are no witnesses that will come forward, and a population that simply won't cooperate to assist law enforcement, it creates some real logistical issues. Now, again, down here, you throw in some pretty aggressive and gnarly terrain, minus 25-degree centigrade weather with blowing, howling winds, blowing snows, and a blockade that was extraordinarily robust and quite unique because of the various pieces of heavy equipment in peculiar shapes and sizes, agricultural gear, tractors, John Deeres, and full 18-wheelers packed to the rims. I'm sure that the resources to conduct enforcement would eventually have been made available, and I think that was kind of the end game, but it wasn't as easy as they may have thought. And frankly, we're seeing all across the country, we're seeing just out in Saskatchewan, we've got announcements of restrictions being lifted. So while there's not an overt victory here, we're starting to see the tide turn, and I am undoubtedly assured that is because of the efforts of these protesters and people standing up for what they believe in.
These truckers have done more for our civil liberties than any opposition politician, than any judge, than any public health official, than any media type. These truckers have done more for our freedom, more to save our country than any other force. I credit them not only for the changes in Saskatchewan, but for the change in the Conservative Party of Canada that happened so quickly today. It's like he got hit by a truck. I credit, I see an opinion poll that shows that 15 points moving towards end the lockdowns in the last week. There's no other phenomenon that this could be ascribed to besides the truckers. Chad, is there anything you need from us? I remember when I called you up a couple nights ago, it was nighttime already. I said, hey, guess what? You're going to Coutts. And you accepted the mission very graciously and quickly, and you went down there. So you're representing these folks, and the goal is de-escalate, keep people safe, help them legally. You've got two other lawyers with you, and we're going to defend these folks if they get any tickets or charges. If folks want to help, they can go to TruckerLawyer.ca. Other than, covering your fees, which we're happy to do, is there anything that you need from us? Any advice you'd like to give us, not just us at Rebel News, but our viewers? What should we be doing to help?
Well, one thing that I should quickly point out is that despite often wearing a suit and being in an office tower in downtown Calgary, I really am an Albertan and a cowboy at heart, even though I'm not riding on horses. And it's an honor and a privilege to be able to fight for salt of the earth Albertans, especially when I'm called at the last minute to fly down. In terms of the financial support, that's going to assist us in the potential charges that still very much put these protesters at risk of prosecution. And we're going to be there to assist them in any way we can, throwing together defenses and investigating any charges that get laid. One thing that Rebel has done so well, and I suppose that the mainstream media has almost done to themselves, is show, in a sense, that the emperor really has no clothes. And some of the bizarre narrative spins, the accusations of racism in the face of a tremendously diverse cultural group, of course, down in Ottawa. I mean, there's people of all shapes and sizes and from everywhere. I think that just poking holes in the bizarre world narrative that is being spun by some of the folks with sinister intentions in this country, that is crucial. And as long as we no longer accept those narratives and see the truth for what it is, we'll be freer than we can possibly imagine. We've only begun work in that respect.
Well said. Well, thank you so much for going down there on short notice. I really do think you're a great fit. You're a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll. You're a lawyer, but you have your feet on the ground. And I think you came in the nick of time. Literally, had you been hours later, I think we would have missed a key moment there when the RCMP tried to make their move a couple days ago. We're recording this. It's now just after 4 p.m. Eastern time, so there may be some movement between now and when this video airs in a few hours tonight. I hope there is, frankly. I hope that the Alberta Rural Caucus keeps their promise and does to Jason Kenney. I'm not saying fire the lad, but maybe impress upon him that the pandemic lockdown is over, whether or not he wants to drive the truck or be hit by it. Chad, great to see you. Keep in touch. And folks, if you want to help Chad, go to TruckerLawyer.ca. Stay safe down there, my friend.
It's an honor and a privilege, Ezra, and thanks to all the wonderful supporters that we have across the country.
Right on. I'll pass on your thanks. There you have it, Chad Williamson. He's our lawyer that we have crowdfunded to help these truckers. Stay with us, more ahead. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.